Welcome in, y'all, to another episode of our Sisters Keep It, a Tyler Perry Sisters unofficial live after show with your good sis you love to talk TV with, and
Your girl Allie Nick giving it to you when I give it to you, but always in the nick of time.
period. And on today's episode, y'all, we are talking about when friendships fail, sisterhood under strain. We are unpacking our sister circle and really investigating would these friendships make it if they were the real life that they claim to be depicting. Allie, how you feel about today's topic?
When I tell you, I'm so excited because we have had different videos talk about some of the women individually, but this is a video where we're talking about all the women at the same time and the different dynamics of these women. And I'm glad that the audience is going to get an opportunity to hear our different perspectives on this.
Yeah.
It pertains to what we see and in real life, but also just really hearing our hearts, about the character because people always want to paint us as the villains. They want to paint us as the ones who just don't like certain people,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm appreciative that we get the opportunity to discuss the reasons in which we feel that way and also back it up with proof from the show
Yep.
as to why we feel the way that we feel. So I'm excited to dive into this one.
Yeah. I'm excited to really, examine these friendships and how closely aligned are they to the real life circumstances and the consequences of said circumstances and decisions that they claim to mirror, because Sisters is taking up a space or took the charge of wanting to be the visual representation in pop culture of what it is to be a black woman in America in friendship, right? Navigating life, love, and even identity, and what that looks like in your 30s. There's just a certain expectation that you can kind of like apply to that when you decide that that's what you say that the show is going to be about. And for all intents and purposes, for me, watching the friendships, watching the friendship play out, it just has not been as authentic or as realistic as it could have been. And ultimately, it has not been as profound of storytelling as it could have been if we were really going through the depths and the nuance and the cycles that tend to happen within friendships.
I agree. I agree with that. It's one thing to have creative license when you're writing, but also as you stated from the beginning, if you are going to take on the responsibility of displaying what this looks like, then you have to take on the responsibility to explain, realistically what this looks like and examine all areas of friendships when there is time to break up, when and if there are moments of reconciliation, when it's time to deal with some hard truths, when it's time to have those uncomfortable conversations, everything that you deal with within a friendship with black women who are in their 30s and who have known each other since college. Like those are the ebbs and flows of that. I think about my friends and my friends that I've known since college who I'm still close to and the ebbs and flows of
Child.
those dynamics over the years.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And I think that, when we've spoken about wanting certain friendship breakups to happen, people got so up in arm and so triggered because I think that we don't really understand how much of a blessing struggle can be. And I was listening to this podcast the other day, and it was talking about the age of AI and how it's robbing us of humanity, which is going to be its biggest sin, right? And trying to perfect everything, and us using AI to cultivate conversations and do certain human to human things. We're gonna lose empathy, but ultimately we're going to lose what it means to be human when it comes to conflict, and ultimately when it comes to struggle, when at its core most of our like deep relationships are cultivated in our shared struggles. So I want to point out that, like, in calling for some friendship breakups to happen or additional conflict tied to whatever consequence that we saw or circumstance that we saw that we feel like didn't go far enough, it's not drama for drama's sake. It's literally them getting into the mud, into the thick of whatever the issue is from their personalities or their conflicting life choices or whatever, and hashing that out versus skipping over it or like glossing over it to tell us that they're real friends, when in actuality you really don't realize or come to an understanding of how real a friendship is until you've been through some with that friend.
Yes, Lord. That is the truth. And then there are also times where you realize we haven't been friends for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
but we've used time and history and the when we met as a way of keeping us, in close proximity. But the reality is the friendship died a long time ago, and sometimes that separation will definitely bring that revelation, to the forefront. When you've been away from that person for a while, you're like, I don't even miss talking to them.
Ooh,
And it's
that
like that happens
part.
at times.
That part.
That happens. So I'm so uh and I'm ready to be enlightened with whatever revelations you may have, gotten from this, or what we may come together as we
Yeah.
discuss it. Because a lot of things come to us as we're,
For real.
in live, in real time as we discuss these things. So I'm excited about
Yes.
that part. Like what comes up as we discuss this in real time.
And I love that. All right, so there are quite a few like sub friendships within the sister circle as it stands that I feel like they had the opportunity to truly explore what the strain and the conflict could look like, and beautifully tell the story of sisterhood and friendship with those conflicts and strains, and they didn't. And at the top of that list for me is Andy and Karen. And it was pretty much from like season 2 on. Karen going as hard as she was going for Andy to stand up and see her value, see her worth, and see the circumstance that she was in, as history repeating itself with her being in yet another situation with a toxic, abusive ass man. But then also Karen's unwillingness to like walk away or like wash her hands of Andy and like getting into the mud with her, to me was just so profound and a true display of what friendship looks like and sometimes what it calls for. But for me, us not experiencing a true Andy and Karen friendship breakup has been a complete disservice, especially as you watch the girls progress in their own separate dramas, their own separate issues, and how each other has decided to show up. Karen more so overextending herself to Andy, and ultimately Andy benefiting from the overextension, but never really going as far as Karen goes for her in some type of reciprocity. How do you feel about the Andy and Karen friendship?
I feel the exact same way. One of the things I believe that was a shift changer for me was toward the end of season 1, because I believe that Karen looked at Andy in a particular way, and that was shifted toward the end of season 1 when Sabrina came over to Karen's house to let her know, hey, I saw Gary and Andy at the hospital, and supposedly he beat his ex-wife. And Karen was like, nah, Andy wouldn't, get back involved in something like that. Like she was almost in a place of unwillingness to hear Sabrina's side, because there was just no way after what Andy experienced in college that she would willingly put herself back
In
into a
that
situation like
situation,
that.
yeah.
And she was like, Sabrina, don't worry about it, girl. You know how you get. It ain't that deep. Calm down. And then when we had to, I believe when she had to witness the after effect of Gary squeezing Andy is when it hit, which I think is one of the most beautiful moments that Karen and Andy shared, when we had to relive what she experienced in college and what the girls may have done, and Karen letting her know that I can't physically go through that again with you. And as you stated, what we have seen when it comes to Karen bending over backwards when it comes to her ability to be a friend, even when it hurts, to be a friend, even when I feel like I believe you are worth more than this. This is beneath you. I'm speaking this into you, but you don't want to get it yet, but I'm still going to be here for you.
Yeah.
And that is something that, I believe has always been beautiful about the friendship, but it also can be something that is definitely puts her in an unbalanced, friendship with Andy. And like you said, the benefit that Andy experiences from Karen doing those things, and Karen not really benefiting from Andy being a good friend to her. And that to me
Yeah.
has been that has been like the seesaw from them from season 1 up until season 8, is Karen is always the one on the ground while Andy is up.
Yeah.
It's very hard for that thing to shift. It's always, a very unbalanced relationship. But I definitely feel the same way as you when it comes to who benefits most out of that friendship dynamic.
Yeah. And I think that it's something to be said about the levels of like transgressions that you experience, right? So it's one thing to just speak generally about the lack of reciprocity within a friendship, because that in and of itself is not always a deal breaker for the friendship. Like I have friendships now where I have decided that you know what, I'm actually okay with you having this lesser degree. I don't need everybody, all of my friends, to be my best friends. My best friends are my best friends. My other friends are my friends for whatever reason. And as long as I'm consenting to what you have decided is what's within your wheelhouse and you have the capacity to give, and then I'm meeting whatever you're looking for, then we're cool de la. So it's not even that you have to do the same thing for me that I actually do for you, as long as I'm okay with you not doing it. But to me, it's the thing about the transgression. With Andy choosing to not be a real friend to Karen in the ways that she did was the most hurtful. And I would honestly have forgiven her a little bit quicker or not have issue with her if it was just, oh, Andy's the airhead and she just didn't think about it. So she's just kind of neglecting Karen. That would be less of a thing. I'm like, okay, Karen, go end your friendship over. Don't end your friendship over that. The neglect, y'all can kind of work through. I suppose you could figure out what works for you. But when Andy was distancing herself from Karen, while Karen is still heavily going to bat for you within circumstances where you are choosing to harm yourself by way of choosing this man and your past lived experience and what you should have learned from that lived experience over common sense and what your friend is telling you, and then going and doubling down with aligning with the woman who now is trying to assume Karen's role, not necessarily intentionally, but basically assuming Karen's role as your damn Captain Save-A-Ho. And that's the same woman who Karen is currently experiencing grief, sadness, frustration, and anger by way of the changing of the guards for the man that she's with. This man is now dating her. I felt like that was the most insensitive, disrespectful choice for a quote unquote friend, let alone a best friend, that honestly Andy could have made. And it's that feels the most diabolical to me.
But I'll tell you, Erica, the number of back and forths I've gotten into in my comment section when it comes to this particular situation right here. And one of the things, that's why I said I was so excited for people to hear us really talk about this and dive into this, is because I believe so many people have a itchy ear where they're already expecting us to be like, oh, this Fatima fault, it's Fatima.
Right.
And that's not ever what we say. I have had people tell me so many times, well, Andy could be friends with Fatima. She could be friends with whoever she want to be friends with. And my perspective where I stand on, I never stated that Andy could not be friends with Fatima. But when it causes you to betray the person that has been there for you, that's where I have the problem with. And it
That
has
cost
always
is
been a
too
thing for
high,
me.
baby. If
Andy,
the price of admission for a
yes,
friendship with Fatima is her to betray Karen, she should have never walked in and decided to pay that price, because that price is too damn high. Period.
it's too
Continue,
high.
Allie.
It's too high. And it was too high, and she was wishy washy with it, and she would lie. She would tell Karen, I don't tell her what you tell me, and I don't tell you what she tells me. And I'm like, Andy, you lying.
Yep.
You made Karen feel like I don't want to be the middle person, yet and still you were still communicating with Fatima about Zach and Karen, even though you told Fatima that you would not be engaging in conversation with her. And what made me look, well, I kind of always looked at Fatima sideways, but what made me look at her sideways even more is that to me she would kind of gaslight Andy a little bit. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I shouldn't talk to you about this. I shouldn't be saying this to
Child.
you, but because you're friends with both of us. But why are we doing that? And
Hello.
so when something like when we if people, what I would hope is that when people can put down the fact that you don't like Karen, you don't have to. Okay, cool. But what I'm saying is, if what Andy did to Karen was done to you by your best friend, there would be a problem. You would not see it the way because it's attached to Fatima. It would be differently if you personally experienced it. And with Andy, baby, that picture, that's when I wanted Karen to cut her off. That picture floating around Atlanta, and you on it. The fact that Andy had the audacity to tell Karen
Yep.
that you didn't want to betray Fatima because of what she's done for you. What has she done for you? Hid a couple files so the FBI wouldn't find it? Because at that point, that's what I believe she did for you.
Yep.
When you got this woman over here who, whatever the women did with the first boyfriend who abused you in college, come to your rescue when Gary Bot squeezed you to glory, have warred for you, protected you, and you had the audacity to tell that person, I didn't want to betray Fatima.
Like, girl,
When that
please.
scene happened, Erica, when that scene happened, it was like, I don't know, it felt like I took it personally because
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine my friend telling me, well, Alicia, I didn't want to betray her. So, but, and then you put me, and I think putting me in harm's way. And we've said this several times when it comes to Karen, the way that they just downgrade her pain, how they downgrade when she is being disrespected, because you had that she was pregnant at the time. Zach literally shoved her down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he barely touched her. He put his hands on a pregnant woman because he was in his feelings. You came there yelling in my face. You disrupted this whole date of mine, but you get a slap on the back of your hand for that because you really didn't do nothing. No, you put your hands on me. And it's because
Yeah.
my friend over here left me out in the open, even when Andy, what you doing here? Fatima had already talked to Andy. She lied. And that's the part that gets me, is when you
Yeah.
become deceptive. And then I'm protecting this person, I'm being loyal to this person, I'm deceiving you, and I'm putting you in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I've always had the issue with Andy when it comes to her being friends with Fatima.
And Andy, I think it's more frustrating because so much of it is also her ignorance in a lot of ways. Her inability to move with a certain level of attention, intention, and awareness. So, like, a lot of this comes up just because of how male identified she is, how weak will she manifests. So much of what she chooses to do feels very natural to her and not necessarily intentionally malicious because she has so little intention in how she moves within her friendships and in her life. Period.
That's
Yeah.
true. And it's so odd too, because as soon as you said that, I instantly thought about Andy telling Fatima that basically she loves the way that Zach loves her,
Mm-hmm.
or the way that they are in a relationship. And it's just so, ironic, like you said, that because she is so male identified that you could be literally looking at a red flag, but because that's who you are, you don't see it as such.
Yep.
And because that's where you are in your life, you don't look at what you're doing to Karen as disrespectful or being, disloyal, because that's just who you are naturally. It's just who you are, which is why she could tell Aaron that Karen owed her an apology.
Yep.
In what world? So it makes sense. Like I said, that's why I love the revelations we get as we talk. Because I never even looked at, like, Andy doesn't even realize that she's being that person. Because that's just who
Yeah.
she is naturally, which is sad.
It's so
And it
sad.
goes to show just how detrimental male identified women are, because you can hurt the person that is most closest to you, but it doesn't even register in your mind that you're hurting them, because that's just how you move through life.
Yeah,
That's sad.
it is.
That's sad.
And ultimately, I feel like this just her inability to actually be a solid friend continues to like affirm the questionable character that Andy has, because while people were championing, like, yes, the growth of the Fatima and Karen, I mean the Fatima and Andy friendship, she was literally just hopping off of one horse's back to ride another. Either way, the horse was doing all the damn work. Karen was the guard dog. Karen was the one having her back. Karen was the one who's going to confront any of the people that she chose to invite into her life that was ultimately there for doom and destruction. And she just literally handed that responsibility over to Fatima and then started acting like Karen ass don't exist. but Fatima's still doing the heavy lifting. And yes, she's giving Fatima affirmation of like, oh, your teacher who gave you a D shouldn't have gave you a D, even though you dumb as hell and failed the damn test. But no, I'm mad at him. Or yes, your relationship is great because you got a man. But how enriching is that for her, for real, for real? Like, she's saying all these quote unquote nice things, but they amount to actually nothing. And it definitely amount to Fatima not actually being a better person. If anything, she's enabling Fatima to stay exactly where she is or regress. So how good of a friend could you possibly be if that's what you're bringing to their friendship? Yeah, I don't understand why y'all asses are rooting for it. So that to me is what is the insidious nature of it, because you also are betraying your friend of 20 years for your friend of your assistant turn friend of a year and a half at most. But ultimately, just because you found a better person to use in this regard, it's not actually because this person is actually that much different or enriching your life in that much of a way. You're just jumping and as a parasite tend to do from one host to the next.
Mhm.
Girl.
A parasite is perfect. It's the perfect description. It is the perfect description because I'm thinking about like the word we've been like the benefit of Andy for the things that Karen was doing in the friendship. Fatima and Andy's friendship only benefits Andy because Fatima is doing all the work and Andy reaps the benefit of it. Like, yeah, she gave you or you were able to get a better position when she got that, lawsuit or whatever was going on. But it's like at the same time, when it comes to their friendship dynamic outside of the professional side, what does Fatima get out of this friendship? So when I see people rooting for yes for Andy and Fatima and this budding relationship, my mind automatically goes to this is the reason why most people are rooting for this, and you guys can comment if this is you or not, if you fit this, is because you just want Karen not to have anyone.
Ooh.
That's what I have to go by. Or to try to see Karen squirm because her best friend is not friends with Fatima.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's going to make her feel some kind of way. Other than that, I don't personally understand the reason why, because it's not a mutually beneficial relationship. It's very much so one sided.
Yeah.
So when I see people rooting for that friendship, I'm just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't want to say that is the case for everybody, but no one has proven me wrong yet.
Ooh. Where y'all at?
Please prove me wrong. Give me another reason why you like Fatima and Andy as friends. Because maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's something I'm not seeing. But for where I'm standing, no. That's the reason why y'all love that friendship.
It's wild. It's wild. So yeah, that to me is right up there. And Karen definitely at various points should have walked away, but arguably, at the point of the whole debacle, the big ass fight, Zach putting his hands on her, Aaron having to put his hands on Zach, Karen should have definitely walked away after that particular moment. A lot of friends would have taken a step back and definitely wouldn't have offered up an apology. Especially after getting all of the context for everything that went into that particular moment. We have a certain responsibility to the people that we love and our friends when we have information like that photo, or we have clear sight, right, of the whole entire plane, to give them the heads up and help them navigate some of the things that are a little bit even complex in their life, if you can actually do so. And that is something that Andy chose absolutely not to do. How do you feel like the show would shift if Karen would have made the decision in that moment to no longer be friends with Andy?
Oh my God. I think it would have been a great shift, and I believe it would have created more narratives for Sabrina and Danny, because they would have had conversations like, what do we do? Karen and Dan, Karen and Andy are not talking to each other anymore right now. Because if truth be told, even though Karen and Danny have their issues, they definitely communicated more than Danny did with Andy. So, when I look at it that way, what would have really happened, in those friendships? Would we have seen Danny be the one to take the lead to try to bring them back together? Like, what would have who would have stepped up, in that situation. I think that Sabrina would have been the one to go and talk to Karen about, what happened, and the need for. I can
Yeah.
see Sabrina saying their need for each other and things of that nature. And surprisingly, Danny may have been the one who could have understood why they needed to take a break. Like,
Mm,
I wonder where her mindset would have been with that entire situation. Would they have created a more mature Danny now that this friendship circle has been broken?
yeah.
This sister circle is no longer what it is. I do believe it would have created um other dynamics to become stronger than what they were. And I'm just going off of my lived experience. I had a friend, it was like a sister circle. I had a friend, girl, she was so wrapped up in this dude, and the person, and my homegirl Sasha, I'm saying their name, she cool. And my homegirl
Mm,
Sasha, we were close, but we became closer after my dog Rutha, and these are their real names. After
come
Rutha got
on.
caught up with this dude, and girl, she just, where you at? You ain't never around. And then she became very distant. So me and Sasha, we became closer, and it was like, well, you ain't never around, and this, oh, y'all went here, and they tell you for what? You wasn't gonna go. Like,
Hello.
we was like with the you weren't gonna go. You was all up Yusuf behind. You weren't gonna go nowhere. So we
Cha.
was like, it was like that. So it created a closer dynamic, a closer bond. Even though we were tight, we became closer because what she would normally tell Ruth, and now we're having those conversations, and
Hmm.
she's getting a different perspective than what Ruth, would have given her. So it definitely shifted our circle, and she was gone for a few months. Now, when she came back to her senses, we welcomed her back with open arms because she didn't do anything egregious to us.
Yeah, yeah.
But even a couple years later, it was like, hey, everybody doing their thing. It's the same person again with another dude. And it's like, you so digmatized. Every time some new penis come your way, you get distant.
Like,
You know what I'm saying? Penis
girl.
equals distance from you. Like, what the hell is this about? Like,
Stand
no,
up.
please. So, we had to have those hard conversations. And even when it went to, one of my friends that I mentioned, she was in an abusive relationship, didn't tell anybody, was getting her
Mm,
behind beat, and no one knew
yeah.
until now you in the hospital. So it created these pockets of our friendship where you would tell us if a dude was harming you. Now it's got to the point because there's been a distance between us. Now you're
Yeah.
not saying nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, who's going to be the one to stand up in that moment? So for me, I just look at with I would have hoped that if they went that way, then we would have saw another side of Danny.
Mm,
I went in a whole circle, but that's what I would have loved to see. That's what I think the show would have. And it's so sad to say, Erica, because that's what I would have wanted to see.
yeah.
But knowing these writers, it was gonna be, well, should we be friends with Karen if she can so easily discard Andy? Hell, should we be friends with her? Are we next? Like, I
I
could
feel
see
like
that
I would
happening
have we would
too.
have seen a split. Like I think that we could have seen Sabrina lean more and not abandon Karen, and then we could have seen Danny try to create a relationship with Andy that was never there before. And honestly, I felt like that could be really really brilliant because that would have forced the girls to confront certain parts of themselves if they were being held accountable by the writers, right? So like I would imagine that Andy is ruminating for however long of like, can you believe that Karen had the audacity to cut me off. I've invested in her business and I am this and she has known me for this amount of time. And Danny initially could very well be like, yes, she's ungrateful and da 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 da. Da. But then Danny at some point gets tired because we get to see her, and how she handles Sabrina. And Sabrina be saying the same over and over again. That's when the jokes come out. So then when Andy is exposed to insensitive as Danny with all the damn jokes and she's the weak will easily impressed upon self-esteem struggling woman, now that creates something of like, well, am I wrong, am I this, is she right? And Andy, maybe getting offended and pushing back and being ridiculed in that way, because while I don't think that Andy is confrontational by any means. I don't also don't think that she's Sabrina. She's not the one who's going to take all the damn jokes on the chin. She's going to make some kind of passive aggressive comment back, and then now we got that microcosm happening, and they both have to question like who they are and how they navigating within with each other. But then they only have each other because Sabrina ain't letting you drag her over into this because she's going to show up for Karen because Karen deserved it. Like that to me could have been such a profound push for everybody involved if Karen would have dropped the line in the sand and be like, you have not been a good friend to me. I deserve better. And if you're not capable of giving me better, good luck. Now everybody figure it out.
I like that. I like that dynamic too because it would have shifted so much because now Andy couldn't use her money and free dinners to get Danny to be on her side. It would have changed the entire dynamic of the sister circle if it would have went
Yeah.
that direction. And honestly, even with that too, if just playing off of that, I don't think Fatima would have had much of a footing if it would
Mm.
have went that direction. Because Danny could have been like, oh, so since Karen undropped you, you gonna pick up a Karen substitute.
Ooh.
Something smart she would have said. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I could see that going that way as well. I don't think that Danny would have been so not that she would have been rude to Fatima, but I don't believe she would have been
Yeah.
as welcoming to Fatima if the writers would have went in that direction. I actually really do like that scenario though.
Yeah, that could have been
I like that
bomb.
scenario.
That could have been
Yeah, that would have
bomb.
been good. Yeah,
But
that would have been
instead,
amazing.
Karen chose loyalty and has consistently chosen loyalty. The closest that we have ever even gotten to Karen choosing herself over these goofy ass friends and this poor friendship that they are offering her is, Karen versus everybody in the whole rise of Fatima and trying to incorporate her into the sister circle and like the mocktails gate 2024. Which that debauchery was ridiculous because the way that they all handled that was so poor, so trifling. But even in that, we still watch Karen rise, apologize, and make amends that she should not have to damn make because y'all are quite literally the ones who are exacting certain pieces of harm against her. But okay, okay,
Hmm. Yeah, she don't apologize. That pisses me, and I can't lie, like that gets under my skin.
mm,
Anytime that she apologizes when she doesn't have to, and you see the blatant disrespect that she endures,
yeah,
and because of the the toxic fandom and wanting to maybe appease them, and I'm not saying that's what y'all doing, but that's what it feels to me. Why should this woman have to apologize when I'm sitting here with my best friends of 20 years and they're allowing this person who I don't even rock with like that to say these insulting things about me and my children and y'all not saying nothing?
mm-hmm,
Y'all not saying nothing. And Danny, you over here going back and forth with it. And just the build up to that, the fact that, and we talked about this before when you're dealing with friendship and loyalty, how she even reached out to Danny like, please don't invite her. I'm not
yeah,
trying to be messy, not trying to be immature. I just don't want her, like, please don't invite her. And you do it anyway because you're
yep,
trying to be messy, you're trying to be condescending, and then you're trying to hurt her even though she good and pregnant.
yep,
Like that was what you were trying to do. And when Karen asked her that question, how would you feel if I invited Preston's new work, basically? And Danny didn't have anything to say, but you did it anyway in an attempt to hurt your friend.
yep,
Then what we see, Cameron going over to Danny's house to find out what has happened with our friendship, what is going on. Then invite you to her shop so y'all can air this stuff out. And I'm like, for this woman to bend over, that's why when I see people making the statement that Karen is not a good friend, she always got something negative to say. And I go back to my question: what show are y'all watching?
what are you watching, baby?
We have seen what is it? We have seen this woman apologize for things that she just should not be apologizing for, even taking apologies that people don't even mean, just trying to, I guess, it sounds good in the moment to say. But I have, it's been something to watch
Yeah,
this character maneuver through the BS and still have to humble herself and apologize to individuals who do not deserve one.
at all, child.
No.
But right behind that, and looking at the friendships that should have definitely broken up, it is definitely Karen and Danny. Danny is the friend
Yes.
who ain't a damn friend, and I'm standing on it. Danny can't even show up
She does that.
positively for herself. Surprise, surprise, she don't show up positively for the people around her. Can we talk about Danny's pattern of speaking negatively about Karen behind her back? Because this also, like, it's crazy because what episode was he doing the other day? And we were like, damn, it was right here all along. Because so much has been there all along. I could trace that back. The very first episode, Danny was talking
Mhm.
shit about Karen behind her back. And look at
Mhm.
us, 8 seasons later.
Yeah. Seasons later, and it has gotten progressively worse. It has gotten worse and worse and worse. We started out, it was a thing of her feeling left out because she
Mm-hmm.
felt that Andy and Karen were keeping things from her and Sabrina. So we were talking about Danny and her relationships with Preston and
Yes.
Tony and
Yes, yes,
describing
yes.
her from the very jump. So that was like the
Yep.
first indication for me. I'm like, okay, I said, so there's an issue here because she feels that they withholding things from her and things of that nature. So she got an issue with this. So okay, off real, okay. But then I didn't know the severity of it. Like friends can feel that way, and it's not as deep as it was. But for Danny,
Yeah.
them first 2 seasons, baby, when I tell you the people in the comments used to get on me so bad because I'm like, what? So what? You don't have to know everything about your friend. They supposed to tell you everything. When Danny and Sabrina got their own little secrecies, nobody hating
Hello.
on that. Why is it a problem that that Karen and Andy do it. So we've had that. And then in season one, when, Zach is telling Danny about the things that Karen says to him and, pillow talk or so on and so forth, just saying whatever needs to be said to her man about her friend. And it happens. I saw people that was in an uproar about Karen doing that, but you give Danny a pass staring at this man butt ball naked.
Hello.
I'm sorry. What are y'all mad about? Like
Please
that,
tell us.
I didn't understand that. Like, what is the issue? And then from that, this man is high. He does not smoke. Danny has taken full offense to what Zach told her, and she begins to act differently with everybody. And
Yep.
Karen is like, "What is wrong with you?" Completely disrespectful. And then we talked about going as far as to having Karen believe that she had sex with Zach.
Yeah.
Now we're still only talking about one person, not the other women. Just everything she's done. Just everything she's done to Andy.
Literally.
And dog, we only like this is only season 1, episode 8 that I'm talking about right now. Like literally.
Child.
This is where we are. She treated that girl so bad when it was her, Sabrina, and Danny, they went out. And Karen is what's wrong with you? Oh, so y'all be talking about me behind my back. And Karen was like, she said, Danny, if I've ever said anything behind your back, I've said it to your face. There
Hello.
is nothing and I respect it about her. There is nothing that I've said about you that I haven't said to you.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect a chick like that, and knowing what we know of Karen's character, she wasn't lying at
Yep.
all. She was not lying. So for me, it's just like, well, what are you mad about? You mad because it's true? Like, what exactly are you mad about, Danny? And then just skipping over to season 8. No, was that season 8 or season 7? With the whole debacle of, I think it was season 7.
Seven.
Season 7. What Karen did, who she was doing in college. You need to get a DNA test. You said all of this stuff about this girl, then had the audacity to go back to her shop and tell her that you're gonna be a good auntie to her baby and you gonna be there for her. You my sister. I love you. I'm sorry. What?
Hello.
I said, baby, Karen, if you could punch Danny in her throat,
I wish you would do it. I really wish.
cause
And I really wish,
honey,
not the black kind, I wish you would. I really do wish that you would right in the jugular.
it's so bad. Oh, I forgot about even before we even get to the mocktail. We talking about Karen walking in seeing her girls with Fatima.
Oh, at the
Even though she
brunch.
couldn't, yeah, at the brunch, even though she couldn't hear what was being said, y'all had jokes.
Yucking it up. Yucking it up.
Who the baby daddy? Man one, a man two. Y'all having a good kiki off
Mm-hmm.
of my friend. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Diabolical. It's diabolical. But
Diabolical.
we got down to the brass tacks a long time ago and we figured out that Danny has been jealous of Karen and this is her way of getting back at her, which is not okay, but it happens more often than people actually want to speak to. So it's perfect to happen in the Sisters universe. The only problem is y'all don't let it play out like that. What does it look like when you are friends with your op? What does it look like when you are friends with the person who wants to be you? Spoiler alert, you cannot be friends with the person who wants to be you. And if we got the opportunity to watch that play out, the show would be so much better for it. Truthfully.
It will. And what the hell are you? For me, I would like to know, okay, where did this jealousy come about? Did it
Mm,
derive in college? Did it come after the fact? Was it after after Andy gave Karen the loan for her salon? What was it? Like, I need to know when that jealousy was birthed and what it was birthed from. Because as you stated, they don't allow it to play out. So it's one of those things where it's just like you just walking around with this chip on your shoulder when it comes to this woman. And I just have to, say that you just want to be nasty. You
mm-hmm.
don't like her.
Yep.
I just feel you don't like her because we do not get to see that being played out. And I don't understand the reason what she's jealous of Karen for. I would love to hear that story. And I remember when you first made that statement about it and the comments. What she got to be jealous of her for? She ain't
Mm-hmm.
got this or she got that or whatever. It goes to show that there is so much. When I read comments like that, it makes me think that person is angry because they are jealous of someone. That's how
Mm-hmm.
I look at it. I'm really a black and white type of person, and that's how I
It's a lot
perceive
of
things
hit
to
dogs
be.
hollering in our comment
It's a
section
lot of
every
hit
day.
dogs in there. And I was
Child.
telling just I don't know. I think I don't know if I shared it with you on camera or off, but I was talking about the reimagining, the reliving of Living Single, the
Oh
podcast, and they
yeah.
had Kim Fields in there. And if y'all haven't watched it, y'all make sure y'all check that podcast out. But to hear Kim Fields say that she believes secretly that Regine was always jealous of Max, and
Mm-hmm.
I could see that
Yep.
it makes sense to me, and so when I equate that to the possibility of Danny being jealous of Karen, I can see that, and it makes
Yeah.
sense to me. It's not a far-fetched,
Yep.
idea or thought. That's a living organism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely believe that is the case. So show writers explore that.
Please.
Explore that.
Could you please?
Because there's no reason for her to treat that girl like that. It really isn't.
At any of the moments that we were speaking about, right, where there's
Mm.
opportunity for Karen to walk away from Danny and his friendship, if Karen actually chose to, how do you think that that changes the trajectory of the show? Just give us the whatever
If
moment you're talking about and then what you think happens next.
When she walk away from Danny
Mm-hmm.
specifically,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about the moments where she went over to Danny's house and she told Danny, I think she told Danny to F herself. And Danny was like, well, and she was like, she was like, F yourself and stay out of my business. And Danny was like, well, it's hard to do that because we're in the same sister circle. And Karen said, not for long.
Yeah.
The excitement that rose
It
in
was
me, because I know
rising.
she got to,
It was
oh,
rising.
oh. And then them writers
It was
inflated
like, you
that mug like it
promise?
didn't exist.
You
Yes,
promise? Oh, we
yes.
was so
And so
excited, Allie. We was excited.
overjoyed, overjoyed.
Child.
And the fact that they didn't let that happen. So that was the moment for me. And I honestly feel if Karen would have walked away from Danny at that point because of how it was, and to know that Karen wasn't joking. Because I believe that Danny would have tried to be, use her humor
Mm-hmm.
as a way to kind of, test the waters with Karen, but realizing that she's not joking,
Yeah.
she's not playing. I would have believed there would have been a retrospective look within for Danny, because this is something that your humor can't get you out of. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that your jokes can't fix. this is something that it would really show me how much of a friend you think Karen is to you and her value. Because
Yep.
I think I had made a statement where Danny enjoys the presence of these people, but I don't believe she values their presence. So when
Yeah.
now that that presence is gone, I believe it would have forced Danny to really look at like, dang, she's serious. Well, she know I was just no, Danny, you weren't just. So even if they did have a conversation, Karen could explain to her, no, it wasn't a joke. You meant that. You don't value my feelings. You don't care about my feelings, and you made that evident. I'm pregnant. I don't have time for this. I can't deal with that. So it's just best that you and and I just think that would have put Danny in a better position to see just how much of a friend she isn't to everybody.
Yeah.
Because I think it maybe would have, and
But
maybe it
it
could have
would
been with
require
Sabrina had I
everybody
ever.
too, though, Allie. I feel like hers would have required
Mm-hmm,
everybody else for real, for real. Like it would have required Sabrina to find a way to be neutral and say, you know what, when it comes Danny, I'm gonna still be your friend, but when it comes to Karen, don't talk to me about this shit, cause no.
mm-hmm,
And it would come to Andy like, I'm not choosing sides, and leaving Danny to her own devices to sit with it and never being validated by the other sisters of like whether she's right or wrong. So I'm literally saying being neutral and letting that fester. That to me creates such a fruitful ground for even if we do still get to the place of her going to therapy. Now she don't just go to therapy about her man issues, but she go to therapy about her friend and why would her friend walk out on her and discard her. And that to me would be the great like skeleton key unlocking what is at unearthing what is the biggest things for Danny as a character in abandonment, in the sexual trauma that she's experienced, and like running towards sexual interactions in a way to subdue that particular thing. And those two, I think, the friendship and then the romance and the sexual trauma, they to me go hand in hand, and it would have blown up this character to put her in this place of true, on the track of true reflection and potential growth. Because it's one thing for a man to do you wrong and a man to traumatize you and a man to abuse you, because they've been doing that this whole time. But for Karen to decide that
mm-hmm.
she up and done after 20 years, this is a thing that's making a seismic shift in my life. Now I gotta think, what do I do now? Oh, that's so
Yeah.
profound. That would have
And
been
it
so
would be
profound.
that would have been so good. That would have been so good. And there wouldn't have been a friendship with Fatima.
Ooh.
I don't think it would have, because when we think about the nature and the reason that even exists in the first place, I don't believe that would have been. I don't. It could have went one or two ways. Either there would have never been a friendship with Fatima, or now that Karen has up and decided that this is it for me, you're in therapy, and now Krisha has you examining all of your friendship dynamics, and now you got to deal. So Fatima, she's new.
Yep.
What's the foundation of that friendship?
What do y'all talk about? Oh well, we
What?
talked about
Okay.
when Karen da 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 da. We talked about when Karen da 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 da. We talked about how
Mhm.
Karen. Oh, y'all talk about Karen a lot.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, that would have been so good.
Ah.
That would have been so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
good.
For sure. I do wish, I think almost more than I wish Karen had a moment to walk away and end the friendship with Andy. I really wish that she would have ended the friendship with Danny, because the difference between the two is that I really don't think that Andy has any malintent, but I do believe that Danny does. I do believe that there's parts of
Mhm.
Danny that knows that she's jealous of Karen. I believe it's parts of Danny that knows that she, even if it's not all the time, like full time hating, she knows that she
Mhm.
slips into these seasons and these pockets of animosity for Karen, and she's doing absolutely nothing about it, which makes her to me the most
Yeah.
dangerous.
She is, and as you said that, I'm replaying what she said at the mocktail. Why would I want to be friends with somebody who only sees the bad in me or the evil in me?
Hmm.
Because that's what you show. And it's like
And
they could
honestly,
have,
she
they
doesn't,
they
because
set
she
it
has
up.
ignored quite a lot. You only see the bad in yourself, which is why you don't call yourself to be better. Hello?
That's
Who's
what.
home? Wake that up.
Mm,
You only see the bad in your fucking self. We all have been navigating the place of thinking that you are better than you are, and then you continue to show your ass and think we supposed to take it. Projection at its finest. You quite
Oh,
literally want nothing
mm-mm.
and no one different in life because you see yourself at as the bottom of the barrel and never leaving. You see yourself as never attaining anything, so you don't aspire to anything. You see the worst in yourself, stupid, and you ain't gonna put that off on my girl. Sorry, Al.
Amen to that.
Danny pissed
Amen
me
to
off
that.
so
I mean,
bad.
hey, amen to that. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Oh,
And
Danny.
she keeps a vice grip. Like in moments when Karen do create distance, then she goes seeking her out, getting in her business. I will never forget, her finding out about the damn twins in the paternity because you popped up to apologize and apology never materializes. But you leave with information that you didn't go spread around the damn town. But you, her friend, if you was my friend, you'd have caught these
Yes.
hands and feet already.
Girl, you would have caught these hands and feet. I would have kicked you out my house for showing up. Not the fact that you showed up unannounced, but it's the fact that this situation don't have anything to do with you, and I'm not gonna allow you to be a part of it. That's number one. Number two is the fact that Karen asked for no, don't say anything until I want to let the girls know, and then you act like it was such a burning that you had to say something to Sabrina, and then well, she was gonna find out anyway. It don't matter. That
Don't
was my
matter
business to tell, not yours.
at all.
Period. Not yours. And as you stated, the very thing you showed up to apologize, never apologize. Then when Zach ever see, oh hey team, girl, how you doing? It was seemed too much.
Yep.
Y'all did too much for me. Where is this apology? You can get the hell out of this house. Never got it. Never got the apology, but it's okay.
It
Never
ain't
got the
okay, boy. We
apology.
gon' we gonna push forward with her raggedy ass.
Mhm.
Now, Danny is also the common denominator of another friendship that should have experienced a break. Maybe they could definitely come back because I think that Sabrina is very dependent on Danny in various ways. But we needed a moment for
Mhm.
them to take a breather, and Sabrina needs a moment to stand up for her damn self. The pattern of disrespect that Danny consistently displays to Sabrina's choices in her relationships is downright diabolical when you think about it at a ground scale, but disgusting on a one-to-one level and how persistent she is with it.
Danny and Sabrina. It goes back to the conversation that we had about Danny the other day. Y'all make sure y'all check out that video.
Mm-hmm.
What we find out from the very beginning. Why are you putting groceries in this girl buggy at the grocery store? So off rip, we know that you have been consistently used. You don't pay for anything. She tells you, hey, you need to manage your money better. You can't be spending your money on weed. So we know that you have no self discipline when it comes to your finances. And Sabrina has been taking up the slack.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me because I really do wonder when it comes to Sabrina, where are you lacking to be so dependent on somebody like Danny? And this is not to bash Danny or anything like that, but when I think about the makeup of who she is as a character, what the hell are you so dependent on? Her
Yeah.
presence?
Yep.
Because I don't understand what she gives. But as you stated, the disrespect with Sabrina has been monumental when it comes to their relationship, and the way that I think we saw it first displayed in romantic relationships is when Sabrina made the statement to Danny about Calvin. Hey, it don't matter if you don't like him. I like him, and I need you to respect that. And then
Yeah.
it was like, okay, I respect it. The very next day, the very next day, I'm talking about the very next day, scene, whatever. Calvin is at the airport. And Danny thing is, I don't want you to, are you gay? Because I don't want you to wake up one day and realize that you gay and you've hurt my friend. Ma'am, ma'am, this woman told you to leave him the hell alone. Why are you bothering this man? He's just trying to catch a flight. He's just trying to catch a flight to go see his dad.
Bless
He
her
don't need to have this
heart.
conversation with you. And then it's like, wasn't he like, oh, and then said all of that, then you cool, I like you. If I was him, Danny, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a damn if you like me. Because you've been so disrespectful from the very beginning. Let's not forget the first time your friend tell you, hey, this man about to come through. I don't know. He kissed that dude. Sabrina's like, I don't know about him. What's the first thing Danny says to Calvin in this series? Do you like dick?
Mm-hmm.
The
The very
you don't
first
know. You
thing.
ain't how
Sabrina
you
don't even
know
know that
that's the
man in that moment.
don't even know him, and it's like, are you kidding me right now? That's the first thing you said to this man. Wow. So off real, it went. I understand being concerned about your friend, caring about your friend, but
Mm-hmm.
there's just certain things you gotta just let your friend maneuver through this situation, and that was
Yep.
just disrespectful to him. In my opinion, because you don't even know this man,
At
and
all.
just I know we're finna get to it. Um, Before we get to it, was talking about like Sabrina being the butt of Danny's jokes,
Mm-hmm.
and she does it and Sabrina just takes it. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost as like that is my permanent place in your narrative, and I have been. I don't know. Like I'm just. It's like I have to say, are you okay with being in that place when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to Danny? And maybe I could have felt that she was okay with it because it wasn't attacking a personal aspect of who she was as a person. But then when we get into Sabrina's motherhood journey, that's
That's where
where
I
for
throw up the
me,
red fucking flags. Cause it was
girl,
way too many freezer jokes for my ass. Way too many. Do I look like a
yes,
Maytag to you, ho?
yes, way too many. It was just I don't even and help me if I'm mistaken, Erica, because
Mm.
I don't even remember a moment between Sabrina and Danny where Danny actually was happy for her.
Yeah, me either.
Where Danny can okay, because I'm
Me
like
either.
I
And
don't
I
even remember
tried.
that.
Like I tried to go back because I'm like, what? Sometimes we really excuse the nine transgressions because that one moment, that one supportive whatever feels so great, and we just suffer through the nine. Like I've experienced that in like a family member that I've distanced myself from recently. It's like when I really think about it, like you have been harming me the whole time, but when it's great, I'm like, oh, I love this. But it's not great very often. With Danny, it ain't great damn near ever. We don't get to see her affirming Sabrina. We don't get to see her pouring into Sabrina in a real way. We literally only get to see Sabrina being Danny's permanent punching bag. And Sabrina not really having a feeling about it. And that's weird.
That is that is because I think the only time I'm trying to like shift through the seasons and the moments. The only time I can remember Sabrina saying anything to Danny was in season one when she was making a joke about how Calvin was running out of the emergency room when it came to his dad. And she was like, you need to stop. And she was crying because that was also during the time that Maurice was in the hospital as well. Like she made that statement before she walked out, and that was it. When she
Mm-hmm.
made a statement again to Danny about Calvin, and it don't matter if you like him, I like him. I don't like when you say certain things. And then Danny totally disregarded what that woman said the very next day. So it
Mm.
seems that when it comes to Calvin, Sabrina is very territorial when it comes to standing firmly and telling Danny how she feels about certain things. But as you stated, you have been the butt of so many jokes, and we don't even know how the hell you feel about it
Because you
at
feel some
all.
way, you human. And of the bunch,
Yeah.
you are one of the more sensitive ones. So we know you feel something. We need to
Hmm.
see it. That, oh my gosh, that would
Yes.
add so much to, that would add so much to Sisters. If Sabrina not even confronted the people who were harming her, but if they created and used some type of like plot device, a journal, video diary, something that helped her express so that the audience could understand and track mentally where she's at with her emotions and her thoughts, immediately elevate the show. Immediately.
Yes. I agree with that so much because for Sabrina to be such or the sensitive friend, her emotional state is rarely expressed.
Yeah,
Rarely.
that's true.
And it would elevate the show so much. I'm just imagining Danny saying something to Sabrina and Sabrina just, who the hell you talking to, Danny? And Danny like, who the hell you talking to? I'm talking to you. I'm just,
I've
in her
been
tone.
waiting. I've been waiting, Ellie, for that moment when the quiet friend finally breaks because they sick of your shit. I've been waiting 8 seasons for
Mhm.
that. How long we gotta wait? Because even that's a part of an archetype for a character like Sabrina, and we don't even get that. Where's the
Yeah,
breaking point at?
yeah. She got to have one.
What do you
Y'all
think the
just
show
can't.
looks like? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, no. Yeah. I was just gonna say that it just can't be from a man. Like her
Right.
ability to stand
Right.
up, like y'all can't keep doing that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Like no, no, no,
Yep.
no. But you were gonna ask what the show looks like if Sabrina does that.
If Sabrina breaks off her friendship with Danny.
You know what's so funny? I'm thinking about if Sabrina does that. I don't really see anybody coming to Danny's aid. I think it'll be one of them things where
I agree.
it's understandable.
I agree.
They understand. Brina, in the words of Karen, Brina, I get it. I get it. Sometimes you just gotta, and Danny said some hurtful things to you. I can really see them. I can see her being on the outs and trying to get back in, and maybe
With
even asking her,
everybody
how you feel
though,
about,
like I could totally
yeah,
see it
yeah,
being they don't necessarily like Karen and Andy don't necessarily make the choice to like, oh, we not friends with her either if you're not friends. But
hmm
because Sabrina is really kind of like the glue for Danny and like continues to include her and like tell her about things, that's kind of what keeps her afloat within the sister circle. But the moment that she wrongs Sabrina so much that Sabrina stops being that bridge, I could totally see just by the nature of them not calling Danny and their own experiences with Danny that they all drift to apart in a way that like now she ain't got no damn friends. I
hmm
could totally see that.
hmm
And honestly, that would
That's
be
the
brilliant
thing.
too. Because when you left to your own devices, a lot can happen. Like your character can, that is some, when you go into isolation mode, whether forced or intentional, that is the prime time for you to quantum leap as a person into your very best self or to quantum leap backwards and regress to a place of like the depths of hell hitting rock bottom. But it's a very powerful place to be. And honestly, like the more we talk about it, I feel like the Danny character of all the characters needs to be put in that place. She needs to be isolated for us to get any type of real traction in reference to story moving forward.
Yeah. I agree with that because it's like, she's found community with Fatima. So you have somebody who kind of, justifies her actions or doesn't put her in a place of, accountability for what she does. So you have someone that does that for her in Fatima. You take away those things, you take away Sabrina, like you said, who really is, the people always say, well, I don't think any of them are friends. But when you look at the dynamic, and now that we're talking about it, Sabrina really is the for Danny. Because Karen could call Sabrina about something, and what Sabrina say? Oh, I'll call Danny. I'll make sure she.
Yep.
Karen could have called Danny if she wanted to. She chose not to. They chose
Mm-hmm.
to call you. So it shows really where she fits in within the sister circle. And it's not about, for me, the fact that them not liking Danny. It's how Danny has positioned herself with how she treats all of them
Yep.
individually.
Yep.
And so I would have, the more that we talk about this dynamic with these women, it really goes to show just how the writing truly has not displayed the authenticity of
Mm-hmm.
friendships
Yeah.
and the ups and downs of friendship. Everything and always be. There are sometimes your friends get on your nerves, and you can look at your friend and say, "If you wasn't my friend, I would probably bust your ass right now. But
Hello.
because I love you, to but don't let
Hello.
that happen again." Like there are some times you got to, you may say that, and it's just
Yeah.
like we don't get that. But ain't nobody just gonna sit here and let you dog them out and disrespect them consistently. One, they don't know how you feel about it. Two, they just let it go and just saying, oh, that's how she is, because somebody gonna get tired of you and they gonna bust your junk all open if you keep doing it.
Yep.
Everybody has a cap. Everybody has a cap.
Everybody. Everybody. And I know the internet
So
like to convince y'all that it's not, but now that people starting to get they rocked in these videos that they doing out and about, now y'all starting to realize everybody got a breaking point. But speaking to the
everybody got a
realistic
cap.
consequences, right, and how these conflicts would have resolved in real life, it's we got to note that with Andy and Karen, if we were in real life, more often than not, Karen would have cut Andy off during the Fatima loyalty shift. 100%. She would have had to.
Like,
It's about self-preservation, and she got to cut the cord because Andy at that point is a damn anchor, and they're in the middle of the sea, and she's going down, taking on water. She got to cut it. When it comes to Danny and Karen, Karen would have definitely confronted Danny's betrayals a little bit more directly if we were handling their circumstances like real life. And ultimately, probably would have walked it would have turned into Karen, walking away from that as well because of how toxic and unhealthy the relationship has been. When it comes to Danny and Sabrina, Sabrina would have gradually started to distance herself maybe in the real world because of the constant disrespect. But then you also would have got to watch the journey if we were just peering in on real life, right? And we're a fly on the wall. We would have got to watch the journey of Sabrina as a person affirming herself and her feelings so that she could find the confidence to separate herself fully from this person who was saying all these hurtful things to her on a consistent basis and not affirming her in the ways in which she should. So hopefully we did a good job of explaining how we think that real life would have looked and how we wish the show was a little bit more aligned with that. Y'all can let us know your thoughts for sure in the comments or in the chat if you're watching this live. Anything else that you feel like the show has missed in reference to the storytelling opportunities with these friendships?
I'm going to use Fatima.
Oh, okay.
I want to use Fatima because I feel that when it comes to real life, I'm thinking about, have I ever been in a situation I have a friend and there's somebody else that my friend don't rock with that I was cool with or close to. I don't think that I've had that, but I have been the friend where I was friends with somebody and some other girl didn't like me. And the reason, she didn't even know me, and it was because of a guy that I dated in high school, and I was going to visit my friends in North Carolina. And at the time, she was dating him. And my friends was like, is there, like, we're cool. I'm like, I don't have a problem with the girl. Like, I don't have a problem with that. But y'all been my friends since damn seventh grade. What are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, even at that young of an age, my friends, we were like in 20 years old. My friends showed me like what loyalty was for them when it came to me, because that was a weird position to be in, to not be liked because of my association with the guy who is still my friend, but we're not romantically. Whatever happened with
Yeah.
us in the past, that's what it was. But to not be liked for that situation. But I also wanted her to know, hey, I respect
Yeah.
y'all relationship. I ain't trying to come in between that, or nothing. But I also had to let her know I ain't no scary chick either, and I promise you I'm gonna hit you before you get me. You know what I'm saying? So if you wanna go, please don't. And I'm like, I'm not a fighter. I ain't trying to. These hands are quick.
Ooh.
Please, I will break your jaw. Let's not even go there. Let's be peaceful.
I will
You
break
got
your
them, sis.
jaw.
Break your jaw. That's my mindset. I am going to shatter your so it's like you said, the quiet people. I'm not a quiet person, but I keep to myself because I gotta switch,
And
and
you know
I
what
ain't
you're
trying to go
capable
there.
of. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Same.
like I ain't trying to go there. And so I said Fatima because she is put in a pretty, interesting position with these women. But what I think the show has missed is certain conversations.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine going into a situation where I know, even with my friends, y'all cool with old girl date so and so. Listen, when it comes to him, I don't want to know nothing that's going on in their relationship. And I would have, my friends, I don't have to say this, but my friends, it wouldn't have been no, we gonna talk to her about him and what
Yeah.
y'all used to do.
Yep.
It's nothing like that. But the way that, that I just feel like, I know I may get some stuff for this, I just feel that Fatima weaseled her way in there because she wanted that
Ooh.
position.
Mm-hmm.
I believe she wanted that, and I think she made it. It was very apparent before she knew about Karen and Zach. I love y'all friend group. I'm so
Yep.
happy I'm here. Like she was like, pick me to join. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And I
Yep.
just felt like the way that she did it, the conversations that should have been had, the disrespect of Karen's feelings connected to her once the information had been revealed. I
Mm-hmm.
think the show missed that, like not for it to be humorous, but we saw so many times that Karen expressed, I don't want to be jealous. I feel like she, taking my friend. She already with the guy that I date. Now she being friends with my friends. It's a lot. We got
Uh-huh.
it from Karen, but we kind of miss the reality of what that looked like for these other women.
Yep.
How did they really feel? We heard Danny tell Karen, well, if it wasn't, for you dating Zach, Fatima would have been part of the sister circle.
Oh, really?
And then here go Andy. I mean, I kind of agree with that.
The same Fatima that needed $500 to smuggle and smuggle Gary in because she needed the $500 so much, so that girl would have been your friend and allowed you to run up her Amazon card. Hmm. Interesting.
Help me out. Help me out. So I would love Sabrina feels.
Mm-hmm.
Like not the fact that the writers want to make Karen appear a certain way as if her feelings don't matter, but how does Sabrina feel about it? How does Danny really feel about it?
Yep.
Why didn't Danny have anything to say when Karen asked how would you feel if I invited Preston new work?
Ooh.
She didn't say anything. Why didn't she say
That
something? Why y'all didn't
part.
write for her to say something? So with that, I feel like the writers miss
I agree.
a lot.
I agree. Y'all let us know what you think they might have missed in the comment section down below. Ellie, I
Oh,
think this is pretty much good. I think we really unpacked this. How are you feeling about the conversation? Anything else that we
I
might have
you
missed in the
know,
conversation?
I you know, I know he ain't been mentioned, but I want to give a shout out to Aaron because at a time where Karen could not really express herself to her friends
Oh
of
yeah.
20 something years,
Yes.
when it comes to friendship. And I think that Aaron, to me, plays such a vital role because even though he's a romantic interest, I really think that he became Karen's friend
First.
throughout
Yep.
the journey, of season 1 through 8, really
Yep.
became a good friend of hers that she could feel safe enough to be vulnerable because you have to feel protected to let your guard down and let someone jealous,
I agree.
or this is how I'm feeling about this girl. I feel like she's infiltrating my life. She's just everywhere, and I don't want to feel this way, but I do. And she cool. She's a nice person, but this is how I feel, and I believe that. And we've said this countless of times. When it comes to the fandom, it's almost as if Karen can't have feelings.
Yeah.
She can't have emotions. Everybody else can have some treacherous things, but she's supposed to be the person that's just supposed to take it, accept it, not have a reaction, not respond. That's not real life.
Yep.
So I think when the writers write that, that's real. But the other aspect of her being able to communicate with her friends, being able to say how this hurt me, and them respect that. I've been friends with somebody for 20 years and I'm telling you how I feel and you just totally negate it.
Yeah. I
What?
don't know how much longer we friends after that because I'm
I
only
don't know
gonna
how
say
much
so
longer.
many times. Once I get tired of saying it, I'm tired of you.
Yes, absolutely.
That is so spot on, Allie, and I think that's the perfect place to kind of like wrap this conversation up. Y'all, I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Our Sisters
Yes.
Keeper. We pre-recorded these a little bit ago because next week is my birthday, so I'm already tapped out. But we also wanted to take a break before next month when the season 9 is slated to premiere. Who knows if we actually have a trailer by this time because BT be set tripping. But we're hoping that you guys are enjoying the conversations. We can't wait for you guys to watch next week's episode where we talk about the villains and the antagonists within the Sisters universe. And this has been such a wonderful time. In our era of Our Sisters Keeper, because last week I forgot to send you a message and say congratulations, friend, because last week May 21st, because we were recording this on the 27th, was our like 2 year anniversary. Yes, we
Wow.
started doing this 2 years ago now, and it's
I wish I had some
crazy. Like,
confetti.
I just remembered today. But we're so dope. I mean, we're so excited that y'all are here and that y'all have stayed with us during the hiatus. This is the first time that we've actually, in between seasons, kept our Sisters Keeper going, and it has created a space for us to really unpack and dive deep into certain storylines and analysis around certain characters and the dynamics and the themes, and we have really enjoyed it, and we hope that you guys have enjoyed it as well. Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here, Allie?
Just thank y'all for supporting, our sister keeper. Y'all know we're gonna be back for season 9. And for those who say it's over, Sisters has already been for season 10. I think they just got done filming, actually, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yep.
So y'all got us for 2 more seasons. If,
As long as
and
we
it
make
is with
it.
our sisters, we trying, y'all, we trying. But it's interesting because I think this has been one of the longest hiatus that we've had since the show premiered.
Well, probably
Normally, it's
since
like
like season 3, I think. Season 3 is when they started doing it
yeah,
back to back. Between 1 and 2, it was way
yeah,
more time. But then when the
it
pandemic
was.
hit and they shifted how they were shooting and all of that kind of stuff, then that's when Tyler went to like the
Hmm.
2 seasons a year type deal.
Yes, yes. So it's been a minute since we've had
Yeah.
like this long of breaks, but y'all continue to support our individual channels and let us know. I always say I don't watch a lot of TV because I really don't. I'm a film junkie, film nerd, but and I watch a lot of old TV shows. But if it's something that y'all watching that y'all would like to hear commentary on, you could just shoot DM or something like that, and I decided I'm gonna watch it and I talk about it. But I do want to, be more into the know as to what the demographic is listening to and watching. I had some people that asked me about. I always said I would reality, but I have had some people ask about like some things that are happening in media. I'm thinking about talking about it, but it's not gonna be in a gossipy way if I decide to go in that direction. So y'all just be on the lookout if I decide to drop a little something.
Okay. Follow her at Allie Nick Official, y'all. And thank you so much. Drop your comments and your
Yes.
thoughts if you're catching this on replay. And we'll see you in the next one. Good
Good night, y'all.
night.